remember the first night it happened because I woke up with a feeling so heavy in my chest that I thought I was having a nightmare. The room was dark except for a faint line of streetlight slipping through the curtains. And for a moment I couldn't even tell why my heart was pounding so fast. Then my eyes adjusted to the darkness, and I saw him. My husband was standing right beside my bed. He wasn't moving. He wasn't saying anything. He was just standing there, looking down at me. At first I thought he had just woken up before me. Maybe he needed something. Maybe he was about to say my name. But he didn't speak. He didn't blink. He just stared at me as if he had been watching for a long time. "Mark," I whispered, my voice rough with sleep. The moment I spoke, he seemed to snap out of whatever trance he was in. He stepped back quickly, almost too quickly, like someone caught doing something they shouldn't. "Oh, sorry," he said quietly. "I didn't mean to wake you." My heart was still racing. I pushed myself up on my elbows and looked at him in the dim light. "What were you doing?" I asked. He hesitated for a second, then shrugged. "Just checking on you," he said. The answer sounded simple enough, but something about the way he said it made the back of my neck prickle. Still, I was half asleep, and Mark had never given me a reason not to trust him. We had been married for 3 years. He was calm, thoughtful, sometimes a little quiet, but always kind. So I nodded slowly and laid back down. "Next time just wake me," I murmured. "Okay," he replied softly. I heard him walk around the bed and slide under the covers. A few seconds later, his breathing slowed like he had already fallen asleep. But it took me a long time to fall asleep again. Something about the way he had been standing there, perfectly still watching me, stayed in my mind long after I closed my eyes. The next morning, I almost convinced myself it had been nothing. We had breakfast together like we always did. Mark drank his coffee while scrolling through his phone, and I packed my bag for work. Everything looked normal. Everything felt normal. Except for one small thing. Every time I looked at him, I felt like he was hiding something. "Did you sleep okay?" he asked casually. "Yeah," I said. "Why?" "No reason." But the way he looked at me for that brief moment made me uneasy again. I brushed it off and went to work. The day passed normally. Meetings, emails, phone calls, everything that usually filled my routine. By the time I got home that evening, I had almost forgotten about the strange moment during the night. Mark was already home cooking dinner. The smell of garlic and butter filled the kitchen, and he greeted me with a quick smile. "How was your day?" he asked. "Long," I said, dropping my bag. We ate, watched a little TV, and went to bed around the same time we always did. Nothing felt strange anymore. Until the next night. Sometime deep in the darkness, I woke up again. Not fully, just enough to feel that same heavy sensation pressing on my chest. My eyes slowly opened, and there he was again, standing beside the bed, in the exact same spot. The streetlight outside barely lit his face, but I could see his outline clearly enough. He was staring at me, not blinking, not moving, just watching. A cold shiver slid down my spine. For a moment I didn't say anything. I just lay there, pretending my breathing hadn't changed. Why was he doing this? My mind raced with possibilities. Maybe he thought I was sick. Maybe he had insomnia. Maybe he was worried about something. But none of those explanations made sense. People don't just stand silently beside someone's bed in the middle of the night. Finally I spoke. "Mark." Just like the night before, he flinched slightly. "Oh," he said quietly. "Did I wake you?" "You're doing it again," I said, sitting up. "Doing what?" "Standing there, watching me." For a moment he didn't answer. Then he rubbed the back of his neck and gave a small awkward laugh. "I guess I didn't realize it was creepy," he said. "Sometimes I wake up and check if you're breathing." I stared at him. "What?" He shrugged again. "You sleep really quietly," he said. "Sometimes it worries me." The explanation sounded strange, but it was still believable enough that I didn't push further. "Next time just wake me," I said again. "Yeah, okay." He climbed back into bed. But once again, it took me forever to fall asleep. Because deep down, something about his answer didn't feel right. Over the next few days, I tried not to think about it. Mark acted exactly the same as always. He joked with me at dinner, kissed me goodbye in the mornings, and texted me during the day asking if I had eaten lunch. If he was hiding something, he was very good at pretending everything was normal. But the nights kept bothering me. And 4 nights later, it happened again. This time I woke up even before opening my eyes. You know that strange feeling when you just know someone is looking at you? That's what pulled me out of sleep. Slowly, carefully, I opened my eyes just a little. And there he was, standing beside the bed again. But this time something was different. He was closer. So close that if I had reached out my hand, I could have touched him. My heart began pounding so loudly I was afraid he could hear it. But I stayed still. Completely still. And that's when I realized something that made my stomach twist with fear. Mark thought I was asleep. He leaned down slightly, staring at my face in the darkness. Then, in a voice so quiet it was barely more than a breath, he started to whisper something. I couldn't hear the words clearly yet. But whatever he was saying, it definitely wasn't normal. And in that moment, lying there with my eyes barely open, I made a decision that would change everything. The next time he came to stand beside my bed at night, I wouldn't wake up. I would pretend to be asleep. And I would finally hear exactly what my husband had been whispering to me in the dark. Enjoying the story? Subscribe for more. That decision stayed with me the entire next day. I tried to act normal while we had breakfast, but my mind kept replaying the image of Mark standing over me in the darkness. The way he stared. The way he whispered when he thought I couldn't hear him. Every time I looked at him across the table, I felt a strange chill crawl across my skin. He looked perfectly normal. He laughed when I told him something funny from work. He kissed my forehead before leaving for the office. He even texted me later asking if I wanted Chinese takeout for dinner. If someone had seen us from the outside, they would have thought we were a normal couple living a quiet life. But inside my mind, a storm was building. Because now I knew something he didn't. Tonight, I would be ready. The hours dragged slowly. At work I kept checking the time on my phone, feeling nervous in a way I couldn't explain. It wasn't just curiosity anymore. It was fear mixed with a strange determination. I needed to know what he was doing. I needed to know why my husband was whispering to me in the middle of the night. When evening came, I went home earlier than usual. Mark arrived about 30 minutes later carrying a bag of takeout. Long day? He asked when he saw me sitting on the couch. A little, I replied. We ate dinner together and watched a movie. Mark seemed relaxed, maybe even happier than usual. He laughed at scenes that weren't even that funny, stretching his arms behind his head like someone completely comfortable in his own home. Watching him like that almost made me doubt myself. Maybe I had exaggerated everything in my head. Maybe there really was a simple explanation. But then I remembered the whispering. And the cold feeling returned to my chest. Around 11 we went to bed. Mark fell asleep quickly, just like he always did. That I lay there quietly beside him, staring at the ceiling while the room slowly filled with darkness. This time I didn't plan to fall asleep. I needed to stay aware. The house was completely silent except for the faint ticking of the clock in the hallway. Every sound seemed louder in the stillness. The hum of the refrigerator. The distant noise of a car passing outside. Minutes turned into hours. My eyelids felt heavy, but every time they tried to close, I forced myself to stay awake. At some point I must have drifted into a very light sleep. Because suddenly, something woke me up again. Not a sound. A feeling. That same awful feeling. Someone was standing beside the bed. My heart instantly began to race, but I kept my body completely still. I didn't move. I didn't open my eyes. I slowed my breathing the way people do when they are deeply asleep. Inside, every nerve in my body was screaming. He was there. That I could feel his presence beside me. The air felt different, like someone was blocking the space near the bed. For several seconds nothing happened. Then I heard the faintest sound of movement. Mark shifting slightly closer. I could almost feel his eyes on my face. My pulse was pounding so loudly in my ears I was sure he would hear it. But I stayed perfectly still. Seconds stretched into what felt like minutes. Then I heard him breathe out slowly. And finally he spoke. His voice was barely louder than a whisper. So you're still here tonight? A cold wave ran through my body. Still here? What did that mean? I forced myself not to react. My breathing stayed slow and even. Mark leaned closer. I could feel the warmth of his breath near my face now. I was worried you might leave again, he murmured. My stomach tightened. Leave again? I had no idea what he was talking about. His voice sounded strange, softer than usual, almost sad. You always look so peaceful when you sleep, he continued quietly. Like nothing is wrong. My mind was racing. Was he talking to me? Or was he talking to someone else? Then he said something that made every drop of blood in my body turn cold. I know you're not really her. For a split second I nearly opened my eyes. But somehow I stopped myself. Mark stayed silent for a moment. Then he whispered again. You look exactly like my wife when you're lying there. Same face. Same voice. Same everything. My heart felt like it was about to explode. What was he saying? I almost forget sometimes, he continued. But I know the truth. The room felt colder than before. You come every night pretending to be her, he said softly. You think I don't notice? I felt a deep, terrifying confusion spreading through my chest. Was he losing his mind? Or was he talking about something else entirely? His voice dropped even lower. But I know she's gone. My fingers curled slightly under the blanket as I struggled not to move. She stopped breathing 6 months ago, he whispered. Right here in this bed. My entire body froze. 6 months ago? That didn't make any sense. Mark had been living with me this entire time. We had celebrated our anniversary 3 months ago. We had gone on a vacation together 2 months ago. None of what he was saying matched reality. Unless something was terribly wrong. Mark let out a quiet sigh. But you keep coming back, he said gently. Night after night. There was a strange mixture of sadness and anger in his voice now. I don't know what you are, he continued. A ghost, a dream, or something pretending to be her. My chest felt tight with panic. He truly believed I wasn't his wife. He leaned even closer to my ear. And then he whispered something that made my blood run completely cold. But tonight, I'm going to prove it. Enjoying the story? Subscribe for more. I froze under the covers, my body completely rigid. The words hung in the air like ice. And my heart was racing so fast I thought it might burst. Every instinct screamed at me to move, to shout, to wake up, but I forced myself to stay still. I needed to hear what he was going to do. Mark's hand brushed lightly over the blanket near my arm. He didn't touch me directly, but the movement made my skin crawl. I kept my eyes shut, pretending to be asleep, even though my mind was screaming. Don't be afraid, he whispered softly. There was a strange calmness in his tone, but underneath it, I could hear something darker, something deliberate. I just need to know. I need to see if you are really her, or not. I didn't understand what he meant, but I could feel the weight of his presence pressing down on me. He leaned closer, and I could feel his breath on my cheek. The faint scent of his cologne mixed with the night air made me feel dizzy, my heart hammering even harder. You're just like her, he murmured. Every little detail, the way you breathe, the way you shift. I've watched her for months, and you almost fool me. I wanted to scream, to tell him I was his wife, but something about the darkness and his tone paralyzed me. I stayed still listening, my mind racing to make sense of what was happening. He moved again, closer, until his hand brushed my hair. I swallowed hard. His whisper came again, softer this time, almost a shiver. But tonight, I'm going to know the truth. I could feel his hand lingering near my temple. My pulse was deafening in my ears. My imagination ran wild. Was he going to do something to me? Was this some test I didn't know about? Mark shifted slightly, his face now barely inches from mine. I remember every detail of her, he said. Every curve, every word, every sigh. And yet something about you is different. I didn't dare breathe. I didn't dare open my eyes. My mind tried to find any explanation that made sense, any way to calm the panic rising in my chest. But nothing fit. He moved again, very slowly, as if he were measuring every step. I need to see for myself, he whispered. I need to know if she's still here, or if I'm just losing my mind. My stomach turned over. I had no idea what he meant. And then he did something I didn't expect. He reached out and gently lifted my hand from under the blanket. My skin tingled at the contact, and I couldn't move. He held my hand lightly, his fingers brushing mine. "You feel like her," he said softly. "Your hand, it's warm, just like hers. But your pulse, it's different." The words made no sense, and yet, they sent a shiver down my spine. How could he know? How could he compare? I was alive, but he spoke as if he were examining a ghost. He leaned even closer. I could feel his lips near my ear. "You're not her," he whispered. "I can feel it now. And yet, I can't leave you. I can't let you go." My body felt frozen. I wanted to move, to pull away, but I was trapped in this nightmare that seemed so real I couldn't escape it. "Every night I've waited," he continued, his voice low, almost desperate. "I've waited for her to come back. And every night it's been you." I felt a cold sweat break across my forehead. His words were fragmented, terrifying, and yet intimate. He spoke as if he were confessing to the darkness itself, like he had been holding this secret inside for months. "I can't explain it," he murmured. "I can't understand why you're here. But I need to know what you are. I need proof." And then, something inside me snapped. I had stayed silent, pretending to sleep, letting him speak his fears, his obsessions, his madness. But now the fear turned into a sharp focus. I needed answers too. As he leaned closer, his lips almost touching my ear, I felt a strange courage building. One small movement, one tiny action, could change everything. I could confront him, demand the truth, or God forbid, I could finally run. But I didn't. I stayed completely still, letting the moment stretch out. Every sound he made, every whispered word, burned itself into my memory. "Tonight," he whispered again, "I will finally know the truth." And then, I heard it. The faintest sound behind him, almost like a sigh, almost like a shadow moving. My eyes remained shut, but every nerve in my body screamed. There was something else here. Something watching. Mark didn't notice. He was too focused, too obsessed, too consumed by whatever delusion or reality he was trying to confront. I lay there, heart racing, waiting, listening. Every second felt like an eternity. Every whisper, every breath, every tiny movement filled the room with tension so thick I felt I could cut it with my fingernails. I realized in that moment that the night had changed. It wasn't just about him anymore. It was about what, or who was in this room with us. Something in the shadows shifted again. A whisper so soft I could barely hear it floated through the air, not from Mark, but from somewhere behind him. I didn't move. I didn't breathe. I just listened. And that's when I realized, this night would not end until I discovered the truth. Whether I wanted it or not. Whether I was ready or not. Mark's obsession, his whispers, his dark fascination. It had all led to this moment. And the moment had finally arrived. Every sound, every breath, every whisper in the dark, everything was about to reveal its secret. I could feel it in the air. The night was alive, and nothing would ever be the same again. Enjoying the story? Subscribe for more. I lay there perfectly still, pretending to be asleep, my heart hammering so loudly I was sure it would give me away. Mark was leaning over me, completely unaware of the shift in the room. I could feel the tension in his body, the focus in his gaze, the desperation in his voice. Then it happened. A soft rustle came from the corner of the room. So quiet that I almost thought I imagined it. But then it came again, a faint whisper, barely audible, and I realized, it wasn't Mark. Something was there, in the shadows. Watching. Waiting. Mark murmured again, his lips brushing my ear. "I will know the truth tonight. I swear I will." The whisper behind him grew slightly louder. It wasn't a voice I recognized. It was cold, ethereal, almost like it was floating in the air. My blood ran cold. I couldn't move, couldn't open my eyes. Every instinct screamed at me to run, to flee, to scream. But I couldn't. I had to know. Mark reached out, gently lifting my hand again, brushing his fingers along mine. His touch was warm, human, and yet the voice in the shadows seemed to react. It shifted closer, like it could sense him. "I know you're pretending," Mark whispered, his tone trembling. "I know you're not her. And I can feel it now. I can see it." The voice from the shadows hissed softly, almost like a sigh of disapproval. I didn't understand the language, but I felt the intent. It was warning him. Or maybe warning me. I closed my eyes tighter, trying to slow my breathing, trying to stay hidden in my own body. But it was impossible. The energy in the room was electric, pulsing, alive. Every nerve ending in my body was alert. Mark leaned even closer. I've waited for months, he said softly. Months, waiting for her to return. And every night, you come in her place. But tonight, I'll finally see who you are. The whisper in the shadows grew louder, more insistent. I could feel it moving around the room now, circling Mark like a predator. I wanted to speak, to warn him, but my voice refused to obey. Mark lifted my wrist gently, holding it against my chest. Your heart beats differently, he said. It's not her rhythm, not her pulse, but it's so close I almost can't tell. And then I heard it, a low, guttural sound from the corner of the room. Not a human sound, not quite a whisper. Something else, something ancient, something patient. Mark froze. His eyes widened, but he didn't move. His focus never wavered from me, even though the room was no longer just ours. I felt its presence now, pressing against my back, cold and heavy, a shadow breathing in the air around me. My body tensed. I was frozen, trapped between fear and disbelief. Mark whispered again, almost to himself now. You're not her, but you're here. You're real, and yet, something about this isn't right. The shadow shifted closer, and I could feel the cold air brush my neck. I shivered violently, but Mark didn't flinch. He was mesmerized, locked in some terrible fascination. I realized then that he wasn't just obsessed with me or his wife. He was obsessed with the truth of whatever was haunting this room. The whispering in the shadows grew sharper, more urgent. I could sense it circling us, moving faster now, testing, probing. And yet it didn't touch Mark. It didn't touch me. It was waiting for something, for the right moment. Mark's voice cut through the tension. If you are real, whatever you are, show me. Prove it to me. Because I cannot. I cannot live in doubt any longer. And then it happened. A flicker of movement. A shadow, darker than the darkness around it, shifted closer to Mark. It was fast, too fast for my eyes to track clearly. But it wasn't threatening him yet. It hovered, circling him like a wisp of smoke or a living nightmare. I wanted to scream, but I couldn't. I wanted to run, but my body refused. I was trapped in this silent war between Mark, the shadow, and the truth that neither of us could fully understand. Mark leaned over me again, brushing his lips near my ear. I will find the truth, he whispered. Even if it kills me. The shadow hissed softly, a sound like wind through dead trees. I realized with sudden clarity, it wasn't here for me. It wasn't here for Mark. It was waiting for the right moment to reveal something bigger, something neither of us could have imagined. Time seemed to slow. Every second stretched into an eternity. The air was thick with tension, with fear, with something ancient and patient. I felt the shadow move closer to me this time. It circled my body lightly, almost brushing my skin, testing. I could sense its presence, cold and deliberate, like it was reading me, analyzing me, understanding me in a way no human could. Mark whispered again, more to the darkness than to me. I know you're here. I know you're watching. I can feel it. Show me what you are. And the shadow responded. A low, vibrating hum filled the room. It was subtle, almost inaudible at first, but it grew louder, a resonance that seemed to vibrate through my bones. My body trembled instinctively. Mark froze. His lips parted slightly, his eyes wide, reflecting a mixture of fear and awe. I see you, he whispered. I see you now. I stayed still, completely silent, my heart hammering so loudly it felt like it would burst. I didn't know what was coming next, but I knew one thing with certainty. Nothing in this night would ever be normal again. The shadow moved again, closer this time, almost brushing Mark's shoulder. And then it paused. And the room held its breath. Time itself seemed to stop. Because whatever was about to happen next would change everything. Mark's whispers, the shadow, the night. It all converged on a single, terrifying moment. And I could feel it coming. The revelation was about to happen. Enjoying the story? Subscribe for more. Mark's eyes were wide, fixed on the shadows swirling around the corner of the room. The faint humming had grown louder, vibrating through the floorboards, through my chest, through every nerve in my body. I couldn't move, couldn't speak, couldn't even think clearly. All I could do was lie there and wait. Then slowly, a shape began to form. Not a human shape, not exactly. It was fluid, shifting, a darkness with edges that seemed to melt into the room itself. It hovered a few feet away from Mark, almost like it was alive, aware of every breath, every heartbeat. Mark whispered, trembling. I see you. I see you now. Tell me, what are you? The shadow pulsed, moving closer, but it didn't attack. It was deliberate, cautious, almost intelligent. And then it spoke. Not in words I could understand, but in a vibration, a resonance inside my chest. It was like a language older than anything human, yet I understood the meaning. It was a warning. A message. And it was about Mark. Mark's gaze stayed locked on the shadow. I don't care who you are. I need the truth. His voice cracked slightly, a mix of anger and fear. I need to know what's real, what's not. I won't live in doubt any longer. The shadow pulsed again, closer, circling him in the faint light. Its form seemed to stretch and twist, sometimes appearing like smoke, other times almost human, and then disappearing again into darkness. My stomach twisted in fear, but I couldn't look away. And then Mark did something I didn't expect. He reached out, his hand shaking, and touched the air where the shadow hovered. I'm not afraid of you, he said firmly. I won't run. I need answers. The shadow recoiled slightly, as if startled, but didn't leave. Then it shifted toward me. Slowly. Almost teasingly. I could feel the cold brush of its presence near my arm, like icy fingers sliding along my skin. Mark leaned closer to me, his face pale in the dim light. You're different tonight, he whispered. I can feel it. You're alive in a way she never was. But why? Why are you here? I stayed perfectly still, pretending to sleep, my eyes closed, my body tense. I wanted to speak, to warn him, to tell him to run, but the shadow's presence was overwhelming. It wasn't malevolent, not exactly, but it wasn't safe either. The humming from the shadow grew louder, vibrating through the room, shaking the floor, echoing in my chest. I could hear the whispering now, not from Mark, not from me, but from somewhere in the darkness itself. It was telling a story, a history, a warning older than anything I could imagine. Mark whispered again, almost to himself, almost as a prayer. I've seen things I can't explain. I know she's gone, but why do you keep coming back? What do you want? The shadow seemed to react, pulsing in response to his words. It moved faster, circling both of us now, stretching and twisting in ways that defied reality. I could feel its focus on Mark, as if it were trying to test him, probe him, understand him. And then it reached toward him. Not violently, but deliberately, like a hand brushing against the truth itself. Mark flinched slightly, but didn't move away. His breathing was rapid, uneven, yet he kept his gaze locked on the shadow. You're not her, he said quietly, almost to himself. But you're something. Something beyond. The shadow pulsed again, sending a wave of cold across the room. I shivered uncontrollably, but kept my body still. Every nerve in my body was screaming. The air was thick, heavy, charged with energy I couldn't explain. And then Mark spoke words that made my heart stop. I've been waiting for months to see this, he whispered. I've dreamed of it. And yet it's terrifying. The shadow paused, almost listening. Then slowly, it leaned closer to Mark, curling around him like smoke around fire. Its form shimmered dark and liquid, and I could almost see the face of something ancient in its edges. A face that whispered secrets, a face that demanded recognition. Mark's voice shook, but he didn't look away. I'm not afraid of you. I need to understand. And then it happened. The shadow's form expanded suddenly, filling the corner of the room with darkness, so deep it seemed to swallow the light. Its voice, if you could call it that, resonated through my chest, vibrating in every bone. It was a sound of power, of knowledge, of warning. And in that sound, I could feel Mark's fear, his awe, and something else, something that tethered him to it. I realized then that this wasn't just about me or him. It was about the connection between us, the living, the lost, and the presence that existed beyond both. Mark whispered again, almost pleading now. I need the truth. I will face it. I will accept it. Just show me. The shadow pulsed, slowly moving around him, examining, probing, teasing. And then, for the first time, it focused entirely on me. Its presence pressed against my skin, cold and electric, as if it were asking me something too. I held my breath, because at that moment, I understood one thing. Whatever this was, whatever Mark had been waiting for, whatever I had stumbled into, it wasn't done. And the night was only beginning. Every whisper, every movement, every flicker of shadow was a prelude to a revelation that none of us were ready for. And I knew deep down that when the truth finally came, nothing would ever be the same again. Enjoying the story? Subscribe for more. The shadow's presence pressed closer, almost tangible now, wrapping the room in a cold, electric tension. I could feel it in every nerve, every heartbeat. Mark remained frozen, his eyes wide, lips barely moving as he whispered to the darkness. I will face it, he murmured. Whatever you are, I will understand. The shadow pulsed at his words, swirling around him like smoke caught in a silent storm. Then slowly it shifted toward me. My body stiffened as I felt its icy breath brush against my arm. I could sense its intent. It was probing, studying, weighing me against something I couldn't name. Mark leaned closer to me, as if drawing courage from my supposed sleep. You're not her, he whispered softly, but there's a connection. I feel it. I see it. And tonight, I'll uncover it. A low hum rose from the shadow, vibrating through the air and reverberating inside my chest. I could feel it speaking in a language older than time, telling stories I couldn't understand yet somehow comprehended. It was warning him, challenging him, testing him. And then Mark did something unthinkable. He reached out with both hands, trembling, and tried to touch the shadow directly. I'm not afraid, he shouted, his voice shaking. I will not run. Show me the truth. The shadow recoiled slightly at his declaration, but did not leave. It pulsed, shifting its form into something that almost resembled a face, dark and liquid, with eyes that seemed to pierce the very air. The room grew colder, the air thicker, as if reality itself was bending under its presence. Mark's breathing grew ragged. I've waited for months for this for you, he whispered. I need to see everything. I need to understand. The shadow moved faster, circling him, but also reaching toward me. Its cold touch grazed my hair, my shoulder, sending shivers down my spine. I remained perfectly still, holding my breath, pretending to sleep while my mind raced. Suddenly, the shadow's hum deepened into something almost like a word. I couldn't understand it with my ears, but my chest felt every syllable. It was commanding, urgent, as if the air itself was vibrating with its intent. Mark's eyes locked onto me. It's you, he whispered. You're part of this. You're connected somehow. And I don't understand it, but I need to know. I can't lose this, not now. The shadow's movements became faster, circling around both of us now. The room seemed to shrink, every corner filled with its presence. I could feel it watching, judging, testing, as if we were subjects in a trial older than human memory. Then, almost imperceptibly, it shifted again, its form becoming more defined. I could see hints of human features, but distorted, almost fluid, like water running in darkness. And then I understood. It wasn't just a shadow. It was a fragment, a memory, or something that had once been human. Mark whispered again, trembling but defiant. I will see the truth. I will face it, no matter what it takes. I will not let this mystery go. The shadow seemed to pause at his words, almost acknowledging his courage, or maybe mocking it. Its presence pressed into the space around us, wrapping both of us in cold, liquid darkness. I could feel the pulse of its energy, a rhythm older than life itself. Then, without warning, it focused entirely on me. I felt the weight of its gaze, cold and probing, as if it were searching through my very soul. My pulse quickened, but I stayed still, frozen, aware of every sound, every breath. Mark leaned even closer to me, brushing his lips near my ear. You are part of this, he whispered. I don't know how, but I feel it. And tonight, we will uncover it. The shadow pulsed violently, filling the room with its presence. I could hear it moving around us, almost like it was circling, testing, preparing. My heart pounded so loudly I was certain it could hear it. Then Mark whispered something that made my blood run cold. Whatever you are, whatever this is, I won't leave it unexplored. I won't hide from it. I will see the truth tonight, no matter what it costs. The shadow paused, almost considering his words. Its form became darker, heavier, more oppressive. The hum it emitted filled the room entirely, vibrating in the air, through the walls, through our bones. And then it shifted closer, directly toward Mark. Its dark, liquid form almost touched him, brushing his shoulder lightly, and I could see the tension in his body, the mixture of fear and awe, wonder and terror. I realized then that this night wasn't just about him or me. It was about something far larger, something beyond comprehension. And whatever revelation was coming, it would change everything. Mark whispered again, defiance and awe in his voice. I will not run. I will face this. I need to know. I need to see everything. I will not leave without understanding. The shadow pulsed, reacting to him, almost acknowledging his words. Then it shifted once more, and the room felt impossibly still, as if the air itself were holding its breath. And I knew. The moment of truth was coming. Whatever it revealed, about the shadow, about Mark, about me, would leave none of us the same. The night had only begun, and its secrets were about to unfold. Everything was about to change. Enjoying the story? Subscribe for more. The room seemed to pulse with a life of its own. The shadow hovered near Mark, dark and liquid, its edges shifting constantly, as if it were breathing with the room itself. I lay frozen, pretending to sleep, my heart hammering so hard I feared it might betray me. Every nerve in my body was on fire, every sense heightened beyond anything I had ever experienced. Mark whispered, trembling yet resolute, I will face it. Whatever you are, I will see the truth tonight. The shadow pulsed in response. A vibration in the air I could feel in my chest, like the room itself was speaking. Its form began to stretch, grow, almost merging with the darkness of the corners, yet maintaining focus on Mark. It was deliberate, intelligent, aware of every movement. A strange sound filled the room. Not a voice, but a resonance deep and low, vibrating through the floor and the walls. It was almost musical, yet terrifying. I could feel it in my bones, a language older than time, warning, testing, judging. Mark's hand brushed against my arm gently, and I flinched instinctively. His touch was real, human, warm, but it was nothing compared to the icy presence surrounding him. You're here, Mark whispered to the shadow. I see you. I feel you. Show me who you are. The shadow swirled faster, almost teasing, twisting around the room, circling Mark, then me, then both of us simultaneously. Its dark form stretched, flickered, and then solidified slightly, as if coalescing into something that could be recognized, almost humanoid, almost human, but not. I realized then that the shadow wasn't just a presence. It was observing, testing, measuring us. Its focus was sharp, purposeful, and I felt it judging me as much as Mark. Mark's whisper grew firmer, almost desperate. I've waited for months to understand this. I've dreamed of it, imagined it, and now it's here. Show me the truth. The shadow pulsed violently at his words, sending a chill through the room. My skin prickled with the cold, and I shivered, but I didn't move. My mind raced, trying to comprehend what I was witnessing. Then the shadow's shape shifted, growing taller, darker, and more imposing. Its edges stretched into the ceiling, black as ink, almost swallowing the light. And then, for the first time, it focused entirely on me. That I felt a cold pressure on my chest, not physical, but almost spiritual. It was as if the shadow could reach inside me, reading, probing, assessing. My breath caught in my throat, but I stayed perfectly still. Mark leaned closer, his voice trembling yet resolute. You're part of this. You're connected. I don't understand it, but I can feel it. You're the key to the truth. Show me what this is. The shadow pulsed again, faster this time, sending waves of energy through the room. I could hear a faint whisper in the vibration, a language I didn't understand yet somehow did. It was giving warnings, instructions, fragments of a story that seemed older than the house, older than anything human. Mark's eyes were wide, almost reflecting the shadow's darkness. I am not afraid. I will not run. I will face this no matter what it takes. I will see the truth tonight. The shadow reacted, swirling closer, brushing against him lightly, and I could see the tension in his body, the fear, the awe, the fascination. I realized he wasn't just confronting the unknown. He was confronting himself, his obsession, his grief, and now the reality of something far beyond comprehension. I felt the shadow move closer to me again, a cold brush along my shoulder. Its form shifted like liquid darkness, pulsing in rhythm with the room, with my heartbeat. I held my breath, feeling trapped between fear and the need to witness everything. Mark whispered again, almost pleading with the air itself. I've waited for this moment. I know you're here. I can feel you. Show me the truth. And then it happened. The shadow expanded suddenly, almost filling the room with darkness. It became heavy, solid yet fluid, and I could see something resembling a face, dark, almost human, but shifting constantly. Its eyes, or what I interpreted as eyes, seemed to stare directly into Mark, probing him, searching for answers, demanding recognition. My pulse raced, my chest tightened, and I realized that Mark's obsession wasn't just dangerous. It was guiding him straight into the unknown. He whispered again, voice shaking, I will not run. I will face this, for her, for the truth. The shadow reacted violently to his words, swirling faster, vibrating in the air, making the floor hum beneath us. I could feel every vibration, every pulse, like the room itself was alive. Then it focused again on me. I could feel the cold pressure, probing, as if trying to measure something inside me. My heart pounded, but I didn't move. I couldn't move. Mark's voice grew louder, almost defiant. I will not leave until I understand. I need the truth, no matter what it costs. The shadow pulsed once more, then suddenly recoiled slightly, as if startled or acknowledging his courage. Its form twisted, grew, and then stretched toward the ceiling, filling the room with its presence. I realized something terrifying. This night wasn't just about Mark, or me, or even the shadow. It was about the truth that had been hidden for far too long. Something neither of us were ready for, something older and far more powerful than anything human. The air thickened. Every breath was heavy, every movement slow. Time itself seemed suspended, holding its breath, waiting for the revelation to unfold. Mark whispered one last time, almost a mantra, almost a prayer. I will face it. I will see the truth. I will not run. The shadow pulsed, sending waves of cold through the room, and I felt it press against the very fabric of reality, testing, judging, preparing. And I knew, with an absolute certainty that froze me from head to toe, that the next moment would reveal everything. The shadow, Mark, me, the night, the truth. It was all about to collide. And nothing would ever be the same again. Enjoying the story? Subscribe for more. The room was heavy with silence after the last pulse of the shadow. It hung in the air like smoke, dark and suffocating, yet alive, moving with a purpose I couldn't understand. I lay frozen, pretending to sleep, but my heart was a drum inside my chest. Every nerve in my body screamed that something monumental was about to happen. Mark stayed perfectly still, his eyes fixed on the shadow, his hands trembling slightly, yet his voice remained steady. I will not turn away. I will see the truth. I will understand. The shadow pulsed again, reacting to him, almost alive in its acknowledgement. Its form shifted violently, stretching toward the ceiling and then back down, surrounding both of us in darkness, so thick it seemed to absorb the dim light from the window. I could feel it now, pressing against me, brushing along my arm, my shoulder, probing in a way that was more than physical. It was searching, testing, measuring. And with each pulse, I felt a strange connection forming between the three of us, Mark, me, and the shadow. Mark's whisper broke the silence. I know you're not human. I can feel it. But I need to see why. I need to understand what you want, what this is. The shadow responded, not in words, but in vibrations that shook the room subtly. My chest tingled. My heartbeat synchronized with the pulse of the darkness. And then, a faint form emerged in the middle of the shadow. A flicker of light, almost like a memory trying to surface. I wanted to open my eyes, to see what was happening fully, but I stayed still, letting everything unfold. Mark's presence gave me courage, and yet fear still gripped me. The shadow pulsed violently, and the flicker of light became more defined. It was humanoid, almost human, yet darker, fluid and constantly shifting. And then it focused its attention entirely on Mark. "You seek answers," it whispered, in a tone I could feel rather than hear. "You demand the truth. You face what others cannot. But are you ready to know?" Mark swallowed hard. "I have to know. I cannot live in ignorance. I must see the truth, no matter the cost." The shadow paused, almost contemplative, then moved closer to Mark, swirling around him like smoke caught in a storm. Its edges shimmered, revealing faint hints of faces, eyes, mouths, expressions that flickered in and out of reality. I could feel the weight of countless lifetimes in those fleeting glimpses. A cold pressure pressed against my chest. The shadow had turned its attention toward me, its presence overwhelming, probing, assessing. I felt like it was reading my mind, understanding my fears, my heartbeat, my very soul. Mark whispered again, barely audible but firm. "Whatever this is, whatever you are, show me the truth. I will not turn away." The shadow pulsed violently in response, the room vibrating with its energy. The air grew thick, almost suffocating, and I realized I could feel something beyond the physical. Something spiritual, ancient, intelligent, watching us, testing us. Suddenly, the flicker of light in the shadow grew brighter, forming an almost solid figure. It hovered, dark and liquid, but with a human outline. Its face became more defined, though constantly shifting, like reflections in broken glass. And then it spoke. Not in words, but directly into our minds. Thoughts, feelings, memories. Not mine, not Mark's, but something else. Knowledge I shouldn't have, history I couldn't comprehend, secrets older than the house, older than the city, older than anything alive. Mark gasped, but he didn't move. I see you. I feel you. I understand a little. But I need more. I cannot turn away. I must know everything." The shadow pulsed, expanding suddenly, and I could feel the pressure of its presence crush the room. Its voice, or the thought language it projected, flowed into me, fragments of understanding I could barely grasp. "You are part of this," it seemed to say. "Not human, not her, but connected. You bind them. You witness. You hold the key." My chest tightened. My mind raced. I didn't know if it was speaking to Mark, to me, or to something else entirely. The air vibrated, thick with an energy that made my skin crawl. Mark leaned closer to me, whispering, "You're part of it too, aren't you? I feel it. I see it in your presence. Whatever this is, it involves you as much as me." The shadow pulsed again, and for a moment, it seemed to merge the room into darkness, light, and liquid shadow, all swirling together. I could feel our three presences intertwining, Mark, me, and this entity that defied explanation. Time seemed to slow. Every sound, every movement, every breath was stretched. The shadow circled us, probing, testing, waiting for something. Its intelligence was undeniable, deliberate, and terrifying. Mark whispered once more, "I will not hide. I will not turn away. I will see the truth, even if it destroys me. Show me what I need to know." The shadow pulsed violently, and the room shook with its presence. The flicker of humanoid form sharpened, revealing features that were impossible yet familiar. I realized with a sickening certainty that the night was reaching a climax. Whatever truth was about to reveal itself, it would change everything. And in that moment, I understood that none of us, neither Mark, nor I, nor anything human, would ever be the same after this night. The revelation was coming, and it would not be gentle. Enjoying the story? Subscribe for more. The room seemed to hold its breath. The shadow loomed larger than before, edges flickering, pulsing, alive in a way that defied reason. Its dark, liquid form twisted and writhed, almost like it were breathing, and yet, every movement was deliberate, intelligent. Mark remained frozen, eyes wide, lips parted, trembling yet determined. "I'm ready," he whispered, almost to himself. "I will see the truth. Whatever it costs, I will see it." The shadow pulsed violently at his words, and the air in the room vibrated. My chest tightened with the pressure. Every nerve in my body screamed. I could feel the presence not just around me, but inside me, touching thoughts I hadn't even acknowledged. Then it shifted closer, focusing its attention entirely on Mark. Its form became more defined, dark but humanoid, flickering constantly. The flicker sharpened into a faint, almost recognizable face, one that twisted in ways that made my stomach churn. "You seek answers," the shadow projected directly into Mark's mind. Its voice was more feeling than sound, a vibration, an ancient resonance that bypassed hearing and went straight to thought. "You demand truth. You face what others fear. But are you ready to bear it?" Mark swallowed hard. "I have to know," he whispered. "I will not live in doubt any longer. Show me everything. I will endure whatever comes." The shadow pulsed again, and I could feel its energy pressing against both of us. It circled us, probing, testing. And then suddenly, it turned its attention to me. Its form moved with liquid grace, wrapping around me like a cold, living fog. Its presence was everywhere, yet impossible to grasp fully. "You," it said directly into my mind. "You are the bridge. You bind them. You witness. You hold the key. And tonight the truth will pass through you." My body froze. I realized that I wasn't just a bystander. The shadow saw me. It probed me, analyzed me, measured me. I felt its awareness reach into my soul, touching memories, emotions, fears, and hopes. Mark whispered again, voice trembling. "Whatever this is, whatever you are, I accept it. I will face it. I will see the truth, even if it destroys me." The shadow pulsed violently, the room vibrating with its energy. The air was thick, suffocating, charged with something primal, something ancient. The faint humanoid form within the shadow shimmered, growing more distinct. I could see eyes, dark, liquid, intelligent, staring at both of us. Then the whispering started. Not human, not words I could understand, but thoughts, impressions, fragments of memory. Images flickered in my mind. Mark's face twisted in grief, fear, and determination. The shadow in countless forms. Me, present and watching, but also part of it. Mark gasped, almost audibly. I see it," he whispered. "I feel it. The truth, it's so close. I can almost grasp it." The shadow pulsed, its liquid form expanding, stretching into the corners, pressing against the walls, the ceiling, even the floor. The room seemed to bend, almost as if reality itself was being rewritten around us. "You are connected," the shadow said to me. "Not human, not her, but entwined. You witness. You anchor. You hold the path open." I felt my chest tighten. My mind raced, trying to comprehend what the shadow was telling me. It was more than a presence. It was intelligence, ancient and vast, older than memory, and it had chosen tonight to reveal its truth. Mark leaned closer to me, whispering, "I feel it. I see it in you. You're part of this. You're the key. Whatever it is, whatever this night holds, it involves us both." The shadow pulsed violently once more, then extended its form, fluid and alive, surrounding us in darkness and light, cold and energy. I felt my body being compressed, pulled into the awareness of the entity, yet I remained conscious, aware, terrified. Mark whispered again, defiance and awe in his voice. "I will not leave. I will not hide. I will face it. I will know the truth." The shadow seemed to consider his words, pausing, pulsing in slow, deliberate rhythm. And then it shifted suddenly, faster than I could track, focusing on the space between Mark and me. Its humanoid form shimmered, twisted, and then, a face appeared, more human than before, yet shifting constantly, impossible to focus on fully. "You will see," the shadow projected into both our minds. "The truth will be revealed. Nothing will remain hidden. The past, the present, the living, the lost, all will converge tonight." I felt my body trembling, but I held still. Mark's presence gave me courage, and yet the shadow's intensity was overwhelming. Its energy pulsed with purpose, ancient and patient, testing our resolve, our fear, our readiness. The room vibrated again. Time itself seemed to slow, stretch, and thicken. Every breath, every heartbeat, every whisper of air became amplified, electric with anticipation. Mark whispered again, almost a mantra, almost a plea. "I will see it. I will understand. I will endure." The shadow pulsed, and the room filled with cold, liquid darkness. Its form stretched, merging with the edges of reality, wrapping us both in its presence. And then, I realized with a chilling certainty. The truth was about to unfold fully. Whatever came next would change everything forever. And we were powerless to stop it. Was I right or wrong? Comment below. The shadow's presence enveloped the room completely now, thicker than darkness, heavier than fear. It moved with intent, alive in every sense, flowing like liquid, pulsing with a rhythm older than time itself. I could feel it pressing into me, probing, searching, drawing me into awareness I had never experienced before. Mark's eyes were wide, fixed on the shadow. His lips moved, whispering words I couldn't hear, but I felt the defiance, the desperation, the hunger for truth in every syllable. I will not turn away, he said. I will see everything. I will face it. I will know. The shadow pulsed violently, reacting to him, almost acknowledging his resolve. Its form shifted, stretching toward the ceiling and back down again, circling us both, alive, intelligent, almost sentient. And then something extraordinary happened. A beam of faint light shimmered through the darkness, a sliver of clarity in the chaos. The shadow's liquid form began to part, revealing glimpses of something beyond human comprehension. Shapes, memories, fragments of lives intertwined with ours, all flashing, merging, collapsing into one another. I realized with a jolt that this wasn't just a presence. It was a repository of all that had ever existed in this space. The living, the lost, the forgotten. And somehow, it had chosen tonight to reveal it all. Mark whispered almost reverently, I see it. I feel it. The truth, it's here. I can sense it. Show me everything. The shadow pulsed again, faster, its vibrations resonating with our bodies, our minds, our souls. My chest tightened. I could feel it probing me, assessing my essence, my connection to Mark, my role in whatever this was. It wasn't malevolent, not exactly, but it demanded attention, demanded acknowledgement. Then, the humanoid form within the shadow solidified further. Faces appeared, countless faces shifting, flickering, each one fleeting but unmistakably human. Some twisted in grief, some in rage, some in longing. And I could sense their stories, their regrets, their obsessions. Mark's voice trembled, but he remained resolute. I understand. I will endure. I will see the truth, no matter how terrifying. The shadow pulsed violently, and suddenly, the room seemed to expand and contract simultaneously. Time itself felt elastic, stretched to the breaking point. I could feel memories, not my own, flowing through me. Images of Mark's wife, of the shadow itself, of forgotten pasts intertwined with our present. It was overwhelming, impossible, yet undeniable. You are part of this, the shadow projected directly into my mind. You witness. You anchor. You bind. Through you the truth will unfold. I shivered but held still. I realized that my presence mattered, that my awareness was part of what allowed the revelation to occur. Every pulse, every vibration, every flicker of darkness was connected to me. Mark's voice broke through again, filled with awe and defiance. I am ready. I will not hide. I will not turn away. I accept everything. Show me the truth. The shadow responded with a surge of energy. Its form expanded, filling every corner of the room. The humanoid shapes became clearer, moving, shifting, intertwining, revealing layers of reality that I had never imagined. Lives, deaths, obsessions, regrets, all folded into a single, overwhelming presence. Then the shadow focused entirely on the space between Mark and me. Its energy pressed into our bodies, yet somehow elevated us, connecting our consciousness to something beyond comprehension. I could feel our minds merging with the presence, with its knowledge, with its awareness. Mark whispered again, resolute. I will endure. I will face everything. I will know the truth. And then the shadow pulsed one final time, violently, a wave of energy that rippled through the room, shaking the walls, vibrating through the floor, resonating in our very bones. The humanoid faces within it merged into one, a singular presence that looked at us, through us, beyond us. You have witnessed, it said, not in words but in thought, in feeling, in awareness. You have faced what others cannot. You have seen the layers of truth, the living, the lost, the forgotten. They converge, and you are part of it. The truth is now revealed. And suddenly, it was over. The darkness receded, leaving only a faint shadow in the corner, pulsating softly. The air was heavy, charged, but calmer. The vibration that had filled the room dissipated slowly. Mark collapsed to his knees, shaking, sweat dripping down his face. I lay still, chest heaving, trying to process what had just happened. You saw it, he whispered, eyes wide, still trembling. Everything, all of it. The truth, it's real. I nodded, though I barely had words. I could feel the weight of the revelation in my chest, in my mind, in my very soul. We had seen something beyond comprehension. Something ancient, intelligent, and terrifyingly real. The shadow in the corner pulsed one last time, then slowly dissolved into the darkness, leaving the room silent, still, and cold. And yet, its presence lingered, a memory, a warning, a truth that would never leave us. Mark looked at me, voice hoarse but steady. We survived it. But nothing will ever be the same. I swallowed hard, nodding again. No, nothing will ever be the same. The night stretched before us, empty and quiet, but we both knew. The revelation we had witnessed would haunt us forever. And whatever the shadow was, whatever truth it had shown us, it had changed us irrevocably. The room was silent. The shadow was gone. But the truth remained. And so did we. Wow, what an intense journey that was. I hope you felt every twist, every moment of fear, and every revelation with me. If this story gave you chills, suspense, or just kept you on the edge of your seat, don't forget to hit that like button. It really supports the channel. Make sure to subscribe and turn on the notification bell, so you never miss a story like this. And I'd love to hear from you. Comment below and tell me which part shocked you the most, or what you would have done if you were in this story. Thank you so much for watching. And remember, some truths are more terrifying than anything you can imagine. Stay tuned for the next story. And until then, keep your mind open and your heart ready.